When you hear the words discount store, you probably automatically picture razor-thin margins, right? Well, today in this explainer, we're looking at a fascinating example from Japan that completely flips that idea on its head. We're going to see how profit isn't just some lucky byproduct of a sale, it's actually something that can be precisely, intentionally designed.
If you've ever walked into a Don Quijote, or donkey as it's often called, you are instantly hit with this wall of crowded aisles, flashy discount signs, and late-night shoppers everywhere. You totally assume they're just competing on dirt-cheap prices, but actually, there is a super sophisticated strategy hiding in all that chaos. They've essentially engineered a system that turns the sheer experience of shopping into pure operating profit.
Think about the traditional discount model. It's pretty straightforward. Buy cheap, sell cheap, and squeeze out at tiny margin. But the Don Quijote model? It's a whole different beast. They create this exciting, almost overwhelming environment that practically forces product discovery. They aren't just passively selling cheap stuff, they are creating an environment that makes you actively want to stay longer and buy more.
Section 1. Where profit comes from. Looking beyond sales. Let's take a step back for a second and look at the actual mechanics of a retail business.
Okay, I know operating profit sounds like some dry accounting term, but it's literally just the profit you keep from your sales after paying to run the store. Most companies obsess over one basic question: how can we increase sales? But the real question we need to ask is, how do we influence customer behavior to actually drive up that revenue number in the first place? And that brings us to the actual variables you can control. Sure, you can spend a fortune marketing to new customers to drive traffic, but increasing what your current shoppers spend when they visit, that average transaction value, is an absolutely massive cost-effective driver of profit. And spoiler alert, this is exactly what Don Quijote is a genius at.
Section 2. Designing the treasure hunt and the behavioral psychology in retail. Let's look at how they build this directly into the physical store.
If you're used to those wide, perfectly organized supermarket aisles, Donkey feels literally chaotic. But that density, it's a profit-generating tool. By packing the store floor to ceiling with unexpected items, they set off this behavioral domino effect. You go in for a drink, but you have to navigate a maze of snacks, cosmetics, and gadgets to get there. You spend more time, you find more things, and boom, your basket gets bigger and bigger. It turns a boring errand into a literal treasure hunt. And you can't ignore the signage. They have these colorful, handwritten signs absolutely everywhere. But they aren't just there to tell you the price. They are massive emotional triggers. When a sign screams staff favorite or only one left, it creates this immediate sense of curiosity and urgency. You stop evaluating the technical specs of the item and you just start buying on emotion.
Section 3. Strategy behind product mix. Traffic drivers versus profit drivers. Let's dig into what actually goes into that shopping basket.
So here is the secret sauce, the shopping basket balance. Not every single item needs a giant markup. You've got your low-margin traffic drivers, think milk or a basic t-shirt, that just get people through the door. But once you're inside, you inevitably cross-shop for the profit drivers, like cosmetics or accessories. That's where they make their real money. The whole basket is strategically engineered to balance out.
And this strategy goes into absolute overdrive when you look at international tourists. Think about it. Tourists are on a tight schedule, so they really aren't price-checking everything. They're grabbing huge baskets of stuff all at once. Plus, they place a super high premium on anything boasting Made in Japan or Japan exclusive. Changing who you sell to dramatically changes the perceived value, which totally reduces the need for heavy discounts.
Section 4. Applying this to fashion or selling the future. So how do we take this chaotic treasure hunt stuff and apply it to a totally different industry? Take a completely functional approach, like just hanging a $40 shirt on a plain rack. You are basically forcing yourself to compete on price because the customer just sees a piece of cotton. But if you take an emotional approach, styling that exact same shirt on a mannequin, pairing it with sunglasses, and adding a sign that says perfect for summer travel, you aren't selling fabric anymore. You are literally selling the vacation. And that completely changes what the customer is willing to pay.
By leaning into that emotional value, a store transforms from a place you simply need to visit into a destination you want to explore. You introduce new styling displays every week, set up curated staff pick sections, or drop limited edition local merchandise. Customers will keep coming back just to see what's new, generating amazing foot traffic without you having to spend a single dime on paid ads.
Section 5. Profit can be designed. Frontline execution. To make this highly reactive environment actually work, You need the right culture on the floor.
To pull this off, you need serious speed. Don Quijote's empowers the frontline employees who are actually on the floor to rewrite those signs, move products around, and swap out displays based on what is selling that exact day. Because if a display isn't working and you wait for a memo from headquarters, you're just sitting on unsold inventory and losing margin. Speed itself is a massive competitive advantage here.
This creates an amazing culture of rapid, on-the-floor experimentation. You try a new display, measure how customers react, learn from it instantly, and share the win across the company. It turns everyday, localized customer behavior into immediate business action, maximizing the profit out of every single square foot of the store.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway of this whole explainer. Sales are the result, profit is designed. If you just focus on chasing sales, you're going to end up in a brutal race-to-the-bottom price war with your competitors. But if you intentionally design your profit structure, you build something incredibly sustainable. Because a store is way more than just a giant box for holding inventory. It is a precisely engineered stage. You have to turn shopping into entertainment. You have to use your store as a communication medium to sell a lifestyle, manage your mix of traffic and profit drivers, and give your frontline staff the power to experiment.
So, the next time you walk into a store for just one thing and somehow leave with 5, pause for a second. Look around and ask yourself, how is this exact environment designed to generate operating profit from my visit? Once you start looking at the aisles and the signs this way, you'll see the matrix of retail itself. Were those purchases truly your own choice, or were they designed the moment you walked through the door?